I've learned a lot over the 4 decades of health and fitness and being in the trenches with the greatest in the world. And one of those things I've learned a lot more about and how to build better muscle is nutrition and how it has changed over the decades. And that's why I have the Titan meal plan for you guys out there that are confused about nutrition. I'm gonna set you straight. Get a hold of me today. The link will be in the comments down below for you guys. Everybody, get over to the Titan meal plan, and I'll see you in the Titan crew where I will fine tune any difficulties that you're having. I'm the guy that really wants to understand it. And I know I've nagged you on times, and you kind of go and you go, well, this is coming from here, and this is coming from here. And I love that stuff. And so I'm not the guy falling asleep. I'm the guy that's asking, and then I'm going out and applying it. And to the most minor little things we've talked about. Well, hey, your A1C or this or that, or just take a little bit of this supplementation and see what's up and mark it again. So for you guys at home, I love that aspect of it, and I love being a student of all aspects of health and fitness. Because
an informed consumer.
Okay.
Right?
All right. I mean, I'm really trying to minimize the decline the very best I possibly can. Because we've been doing it a long time, and I freaking love this stuff. Like you, I want to know how the watch is made. And I'd like you to explain it to me. So from me to you, I love who you are and how you're doing this stuff. And I love that. I was thinking about the AST and LST there, and you were going off of something else right to the nitrogen. I love that aspect of it where...
Well, AST and ALT, people consider those liver enzymes. It's not on this. It must be on the next page. And that's another classic where a standard physician, for lack of a better word, if those are elevated, will call those liver enzymes and say that, oh, you have an issue with your liver. Unfortunately,
Who's got the eyesight here?
I got it. AST and ALT are within normal limits here, right? Those aren't abnormally high or low or anything. But let's say they were outside of the limits, in this case, 40 and 44, right?
And I'm 27 on 0 to 40.
Which is actually surprising to me because you're so well muscled. I just gave away the trick here is that, when you have muscle turnover, that's one...
I'm not training hard enough. Is that what you're saying?
You said it, not me, man. Wow. You better get busy, buddy. But you'll see them elevated sometimes, and if the GGT, which is specific to organ tissue, like the liver, is low, certainly, or within normal limits, and again, there's a judgment call on all this stuff, then you don't necessarily presume it's liver. In my practice, particularly with guys like you, I go, oh, yeah, it's high because you have muscle tissue turnover. You're more well muscled than the average bear, so you're going to see that sort of thing. You're going to see an elevated creatinine level too, okay? Because creatinine is also a byproduct of muscle tissue turnover, and we use it to gauge kidney function, but does it mean your kidneys aren't functioning if you have a high serum level, or you're just a big dude,
right,
and you're creating more? And we can check that very quickly by checking, see what's in your urine, and not to get too far afield here, but these are things that are important to pick up on, so you don't go down the wrong route by doing I call it paint by numbers medicine game, which is that, a product of that 3 to 5 minute visit.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, and you guys are back there as well, yes, get the test done. And then if there is something off, talk to the professional. And it might be, just because the numbers are off, doesn't mean technically you're in trouble.
Oh, repeat that, please. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because normal, we've already talked about what the definition of normal. It's normal to get sick and die one day. I don't pay much attention, and I don't want to talk about me. I don't think physicians should pay that much attention to the reference intervals so much as what is the level that is optimal for this patient. Okay, because you can go down a lot of
took it a whole
bad roads by taking it just by the reference interval alone. I mean, going back to cholesterol, the ketogenic diet where people eat gobs and gobs of fat,
right,
or exclusively fat, you're going to see an LDL, particularly in this country where there's a lot of saturated fat involved, in the 200s, sometimes even 300s. Does that mean they're about to have a coronary episode because of a plaque buildup or whatever? No, I've got plenty of patients that are following the ketogenic diet successfully that have squeaky clean arteries, as evidenced by the gold standard, a coronary CT angiogram with and without contrast. So you don't just go, oh my goodness. Yeah, you have to put it into play with the rest of the patient's numbers as well as their symptoms, their status quo.
My total cholesterol is a 158. Reference range is 100 to 200. So again, it's in a decent area, or healthy area. But again,
that means very little to me. If we did an exam, like I normally recommend starting with a carotid Doppler ultrasound, okay? Non-invasive, we can see if there's any thickness in what they call the intima, the walls of the artery there. If plaque has started to form underneath there, okay, it's going to look differently than a healthy vessel. If we see evidence of that, then we go, well, we don't always. I recommend you go to the gold standard and see what's going on in your heart. Okay, why do we check here? Because it's non-invasive and there's 95% correlation between what we find in the neck and what's in the heart. But if we find something, I argue, hey, let's not mess around. There's something let's dig in now. If there's nothing here, stop. Check it again in 5 years. It makes sense to you, I hope. Because you want to see what's actually in the heart, number one, but you also want to see what type of plaque it is. And I won't go too far afield here because this is going to get technical, but my point is that the number might be high, low, who cares? Just like that, the garage and the gasoline example, it might be a gallon, it might be 10 gallons of gas, but if you don't have anything to worry about, the house fire, the plaque, which is a sign of extant inflammation, then we're done here. I don't care what your cholesterol is. I care that you have healthy arteries, no inflammation in them. So keep whatever gasoline you want in the system, right? Well, and here's a good example too, because if you're a protein eater, it's right. And difficulty I realize is, so what if it's hard? What's your point? And I get that, work from that background, I get it, right? But still, it's much easier to eat. There are many available sources of protein that have a lot of animal fat in them, right? If not, you're eating salmon all day long, you start to smell like a fish or whatever. But what we have available to us is going to contain a lot of cholesterol in it. So saturated fat is what I mean to say, which will end up is LDL cholesterol typically. So why give yourself a problem you don't need? I mean, keep using your sources of protein unless you have a problem with it.
It's that time again to get my blood work done to see where my numbers are. Again, the one big thing for me is I'm keeping track of it. It's so precise. I competed in bodybuilding and powerlifting and martial arts, but that was all over decades ago. And so how can I continue to keep this physique and be this strong at this stage? And so that is by optimizing my health with Titan Medical. It all stems from one thing: your blood work, what's going on inside of you. And that's the main thing that I'm focused about, is see how I can continue to not just be in the game. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be a weekend warrior. I don't want to say you got a dad bod. I want to be the pinnacle of the health and fitness industry decades after I competed. And I've always said this too. You got so many of these guys that were with me in the 80s and 90s, and they keep putting the pictures up from the 80s and 90s. I don't want to be that guy. I like the fact that I can still put up pictures of me today, even though I won the universe back in the 90s. That's the goal for me. I don't know what your goal is, but I can tell you this. I know you want to live, and I know you want to live your best life. And that starts with blood work. Over at Titan Medical, start today. And again, the blood work's the first marker, and then move from there to see if there's any issues. Because I know that we've had fun, though, over the last, 4 or 5 years, making sure the heart and the plaque and everything for me. And you've sent me off to some professionals. We've done scans and all that kind of stuff. So for me, again, it was fun for me to go through that experience, being a 50-year-old man in that range, making sure that everything is good. And then I gave you some research, and let's see if you followed up on this, that the similarity of the plaque buildup on your teeth is a similarity of the plaque buildup around the heart. Did you see that?
Yes and no, there's a correlation there, but not for the reason you think.
Okay, go.
not for the reason you think, I don't think.
The reason why I say that is because she's amazing. She doesn't get no plaque buildup. Me, I go to the dentist every 3 months.
There's always something to
There's
scrape off.
always something there to scrape off. So I'm like, that's an interesting. That one went off on my head going, well, that's a lot of plaque.
Yeah, plaque to plaque, I don't think we have any correlation there that's valuable. But if you have, this is the take home. When it comes to dental health, oral hygiene, we'll call it, and oral health, there's a huge correlation between the two, and we know the mechanism of action. It's not just a correlation. And I don't know why it's skipped in doctrine. I mean, I definitely mentioned this in my effort to spread the word about things I think are important in my book, because for some reason, dentists are over here and doctors over here. Well, it should all be one big happy family, because just like whatever other health, liver health, well, oral health, your teeth health is very important, particularly to your cardiovascular system, because that inflammation we're talking about that is a problem can seed from your teeth. If you're not keeping healthy teeth and you got a buildup of bacteria, which can be reflected as plaque, perhaps, then you have an issue. And this is something, I bet if you go back to people that have coronary artery disease or have actually, unfortunately, maybe even had an MI, you'll go, oh yeah, I remember that dude. Always had really bad breath. Or always had really bad teeth. Not always, I'm saying, but more than you probably, I think it'll impress you. You go, yeah, come to think of it, yeah. And yet we tend to ignore that, and yet you go to the dentist, and if you already have a heart issue, like a heart murmur, there's a problem with valves or something like that, they'll say, oh, well, you have to have prophylactic antibodies before we go in there and mess with your teeth and release some of those bacteria into the system, even just normal levels of bacteria. And yet, these are things that are kind of just skipped over in that 3 to 5 minute visit, right?
How crazy is that? We're talking about HRT and we got to dentistry and about the correlation with that in the heart. I'm sorry. That's why I love this.
Well, because you and I are talking about optimizing the human and being in the best health you can be, not just, HRT's part of that, like all these other things we've
Is that our problem, though? Is that slightly why I'm, I guess, I don't know, an odd cat in the sense, because I love this stuff so much that it all plays in together. And if you come to me and say, I want to be Mr. Bodybuilder on stage and I just need to take drugs, I'll be like the first guy going, all right, good luck with that. And move away, because it has nothing to do, that's only one little tidbit. It's like we said, the eating, not this. And when it comes to health, people think, as long as I go for a walk in the morning, I can eat what I want, sleep is 4 or 5 hours, show me the study. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's all aspects. I don't know, but that's me. Does that make sense to you? It's like,
that's what I do for a living. That's what I like to focus on because of just that. I get so many patients, and I'm lifting the hood or going behind the curtain and sharing with my rationale for all this and why I do it. I get a lot of people coming to me for hormone replacement therapy, right? That's something that wasn't available even a decade ago to the extent it is now. And so, okay, that's something that Rand does. But you see my labs. Do I just look at testosterone free and total and estradiol sensitive? Or do I look at, I've had people in lab stations, drawing stations, send grandma home. You got to come back tomorrow. We're taking too much blood, because I like to get a comprehensive panel. Why? Because I like to, like you're talking about, look at it from this level, not just this level, because it is more than that. Now, am I zinging anybody by doing that? They didn't ask me for it, but I'm doing it. But so far so good. People are happy when I can say, okay, yes, you're a candidate. That's a no-brainer. But boy, you better look into your sleep apnea. Boy, you got fatty liver. Whatever it is. Typically, I would think even across the board, almost without exception, people want to get better if they can, if there's an opportunity. I think that when they come in and they're ostensibly not interested is because they think there's nothing they can do about it, or what they can do about it is going to be too hard.
Yeah, well, I hope they get from this. They just go to a professional and get their help that they want if they don't want to do much. And they want to be the guy, just tell me what to do, shut up, let me go. But I hope they get the hope, because I think that's what life should be about. Or if there is hope, like I can get better, I can move better, I can look better.
I can live a better life. That's what this is about at the end of the day.
Absolutely, and that's part of the word I like to spread, because at a mere 61 years old, I've lived long enough where even just 20 years ago there was a lot of you're kind of screwed, dude. I mean, I had a friend die of hepatitis C. Okay.
Wow.
Now I shouldn't say there's no excuse, but if you identify it quick enough, we have a cure for that. And we thought, okay, that's going to be impossible. If you get hepatitis C, you're done. We can go on and on and on. HIV, people living with HIV, and in the 80s we thought, oh, you're done, man.
I was in my car when I heard.
Right.
Yeah, it's like the Magic Johnson one. It's like, oh shoot, okay. And then he's still good and still great and everything.
Yeah. So
the hope,
the message of hope is one I definitely want to pitch out there as far as I can, and even with alternatives, which is again part of the reason why I published what I did, because some of it might not be difficult in terms of having to do this, that, and the other every day. It might be financial, but we've got different ways to skin a cat now where we had nothing before.
So we just finished one movie. It turned out great. I am loving it. I love the dailies that we see. On to the next project. You finish, you keep going, you keep trying to go. That's, I guess, a better way to say it. And this next movie that I have booked, this is going to take all of me. This is going to take slice to the bone, all the character development, but also I need to be able to move and grow and keep that strength through this process. You'll understand why that is after you see the movie, but keeping the strength is key when you're dieting. And so I'm going to show you how to do that on Power Bodybuilding. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you over there. Side note, I love the fact that you do go deep on the panels. And we were talking about this, me and the team back there were talking about this, that why does this company over here not get this, this, and this? Why does this company over here not get this, this, and this? And the reason why I'm saying that is that I'm floating your boat a bit, but you do get like the A1C, the GGT, these other tests that a lot of companies do not put in there, I guess, to make it more cost effective. Where my suggestion, okay. My suggestion is get the list, get the covenant. I don't know what you say in the restaurant world. I want the whole thing. I want the
the a la carte.
Yeah, I want it all. I want to know what's going on. And you don't need to be as crazy as I am when it's about this, but my life has been martial arts, powerlifting, and bodybuilding for a lifetime. And I'm still here being able to do this. And I'm still here able to do this with healthy numbers that we have here. Why is the T level at 25,000? That's odd.
But see, with your goals, these have value. And I would argue that, there's some patients who probably walk out of my office and maybe we did get too many labs for them because they're not really that interested in pursuing something as simple as taking a daily vitamin D3 tablet or something like that. So, I would also, without hesitation, argue that what you're talking about are physicians making any excuses. We'll call them organizations that are primarily focused on making money. And like you say, there might not be value in getting a hemoglobin. Arguably, there's not a value in getting a hemoglobin A1C for everybody. If if she walks in and I look at her and I get some what I call basic labs, and her fasting insulin is nice and low, and there's other markers we can look at and go, well, she doesn't have any metabolic dysfunction, certainly ostensibly, or even with some of these numbers that would support that assumption. Why am I going to waste the money on hemoglobin A1C, which I don't get unless I have a reason to? But some of these others, the argument would be, like, for example, most I think that I've seen, from a Kaiser, which is a health management organization, and they're under the gun to both provide medical service, but to do it as cheaply as possible. They won't get a GGT. So a lot of assumptions might be made. I haven't seen it. By just looking at AST and ALT, and you might jump to the conclusion that, it's a liver problem, when in fact it's not. So, again, we go to, there's other factors that are, you could argue, practical, but saving money, I said something when you said that. That's the way it's thought about. But we have a lot of studies that go back and look at the numbers. So we're not looking forward. We're going back and picking apart what we've already done and saying, boy, if we had just done this, this, and this at this cost, we wouldn't have had to pay this, this, and this at a much higher cost because we would have caught it early. So I'm not buying that argument just yet.
And you giving me the 5 minutes or something? No, okay, no, because you just said you lost a friend from Hep C.
Yeah.
And again, I think getting the numbers, I don't think you should get the lesser of the two. Pay the money, get the full panel, or get as much panel as your expert would like to see, at least, and then work from there. And just FYI, 608 is the testosterone level. That's rookie numbers. Let's bump that up.
Again, I'm not saying anything.